Okay, guys and gals, about 10 seconds of the obligatory disclaimer. If you want to read the whole thing, just pause the video. S&P 500, let's see what's going on, give my opinion about the stock market. As always, we're looking at the futures here. These are the December contracts, S&P 500 E-mini futures contracts we're looking at right here. This is, I think, the night session has already started. So futures start at 5 o'clock, for those who don't know, and they trade all the way through the night into the next day and trade all the way till 4 p.m. This would be Texas time here in the U.S. Okay, so this session's already started because it's after 5 o'clock here. I think it's 6 o'clock p.m. Yep, about 6:15, October 31st. Right? Man, oh man, look at this thing. Look at this thing. This is a daily chart. Way back here, all-time highs. Right at the very beginning of the year, like January 2nd, 3rd, or 4th. Look at this thing. Down and up. It touches the line again, comes up, fails, all the way back up. That was like late March. Then chugga, almost all the way, almost touches here May 20th, but didn't, at that point that was actually a touch. Okay, came up about halfway, failed at the 50-day moving average, you can see, came back down, touched. Okay, came up all the way back up here. So now we got 1, 2, 3 touch points, right, for the upper trend line. And we got 1, 2, 3 touch points for the lower trend line. So if you look at this geometrical shape here, it's basically a descending, widening wedge. Some might even call it a little bit of a megaphone, but it's basically a descending, widening wedge, right? Okay, down, 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 down. Came all the way down here. It didn't come all the way down and touch the line. Okay. Right? You can't quite see on this, but it's way down here. Right? It's like right down in here, right? Stopped right there, so stopped well short. Okay. Now it's making its way back up. Just look at that geometry. Boom, 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 right? I mean, let me just show you this. So you gotta learn how to just filter out the noise and look at really big picture stuff. Normally we'd do that in a weekly and monthly charts, but you can see on the daily too, okay? So it's here, 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 and it didn't happen here, right? It didn't happen right here. But more than likely, it's gonna happen. Who knows? Somewhere over here. Okay. You see that? See how easy it is? You see how it just kept getting, each frequency gets longer? See the distance from here to here is shorter than from here to here. Right? So the frequency, if you will, the wave, right? This is typical in nature. Talk about this all the time. Sound frequency, light frequency, very common, right? We measure those things in waves. Okay, so this one probably will come down somewhere over here. That's what it looks like to me. Just instinctively looking at this, right? So it looks like somewhere right around January, maybe February, this is where you're going to get the low, way over here somewhere. It's hard to tell, somewhere in this area, okay? Just looking at this wave. All right, so that's kind of big picture on a daily. As a matter of fact, let me switch over to the weekly chart. We'll come back to this daily chart and we'll look at this. Okay, so let's switch over. I'm going to switch my drawing chart over to the weekly. And I just looked at this other day and kind of made sure that these cycles made sense. So for those that don't know what cycles are, that's these guys here, okay? So basically elements of time that kind of forecast where the price is going to go. So here's that geometry that we just saw on the daily chart. Here it is on the weekly chart. Well, it didn't happen, right? It didn't come down here. Stopped. So, I mean, just look at this cycle. We're at the very beginning of this. By the way, this cycle ended 1023. It just ended last week. Okay, ended about a week ago, and that low right there was on 1010. So it was within 2 periods on this chart, 2 candlesticks. And we know that for those of us that study cycle analysis, that's within what we call the principle of variance. Okay, that's fine. That's well within acceptable range. So this is great. Okay, this looks really good. Let me just clear the screen here a little bit. So I'm looking at this, and we're at the very beginning of this ascending up into this cycle. Well, the middle of this cycle would be, what do you know? January, right at the beginning of the year. It's right smack dab. The middle of this cycle is exactly at the beginning of the year. Okay, so this cycle just looks strong to me. It just has strength written on it. Okay, everything about this cycle is strong. I could see it breaking above this trend line even. It could get up here to 4,100. I'm not saying it's going to do that. I'm saying it could, and that would, this line would get moved up a little bit higher. So think about it. If you think about you're just talking about this megaphone. It just keeps getting wider and wider and wider until something finally gives, right? So that's where I think if I just looked at this instinctively in a natural oscillation, a cyclical frequency that we see in nature all the time, just for the record, guys, this is conjured. Okay, this is a conjured, manufactured, man-manipulating nonsense. The creepy crawly stuff, creepy crawly, that's just not nature. Nature doesn't do this kind of nonsense. Okay, that's called manipulation. But this is more of what you see in nature, this wave and this oscillation, okay? Anyway, so looking at this from a natural perspective, I would think that, this thing is, it may come down and do some other stuff, but I think it's kind of probably break above this trend line. That's what this looks like to me. It's going to be strong all the way to, late December, maybe even a little bit into January. So that's what I think is going to happen here. I think we're going to get up into the 4100s. Okay, right now, as of right now, this is trading at just below 3,900. Now there could be, this is weekly chart, remember that, so there could definitely be some red weeks, you get a down week and you get an up week and whatever, So that's what I have my instincts tell me about this, that it looks like it could get above the upper trend line, get above 4,000, maybe even 4,100, okay? There's a lot of this. This is starting to cross over a little bit here, okay? So that's my take on longer term weekly. Okay, we'll look at monthly just real quick. And this just makes sense. This chart right here, this purple cycle, I think ended in June, it was June, and then the yellow one ended in late August. So again, remember this is a monthly chart. The low was right here in October. So if August was the low, the projected low over here, September, October with principal variance again. Now these are huge cycles. And this is massive time frames, right? Look at this. You're talking about, this chart goes back decades. So this makes sense that we're getting this bottoming action in here. That's right around this time. But it could extend. When you get into bear markets, things can extend, This is way out here in what, 2024? Yeah, November 2024, okay. So this could extend, we have a little time of up, and then it could come back down and touch this line. Up, back down, touch the line. Maybe even go below it. Okay, I think, and I've said this before, I really think that the stock market could come down to 2,400. Half, take that number, divide by 2, or take that number and multiply by, 0.5, or 50% of this number, 2,400. I do think we'll get below 3,000 fairly easily. I think that's going to happen on the monthly chart. Okay, let's go back to the daily. Let me switch my drawing chart back to the daily here. Spread this out a little bit here. So I know everybody wants to know more day-to-day stuff, but the big picture sometimes is important, right? So a couple things stand out to me. We had a divergence warning here on the Big Daddy, but I know this indicator really well. I created it myself. I've looked at it for, probably a couple of years now. And, that is a prelude to things that probably are going to come. And then we got these two divergent warnings. Oh, sad face. On the on the SMI. Okay. So those do mean something. But I don't think they mean something just quite yet. But they're like warnings, okay? So let's take a look back here. See these two divergence warnings, and then these started popping up right in here. But you can't ignore other data. You see how the MACD is just above the purple line here is the 0 line. So the MACD was right about here, right? It wasn't up by 100, which was way over here. That took, let's see, this was August 2nd, and by the time this thing was all said and done, it was August 16th, like 2 weeks. All right. So when I look at this divergence warning right here, I'm definitely cautious about it. I'm keeping an eye on what's going on with the price action here. But it's very possible we're getting this kind of stuff. Okay. And I talked about that as we get in the middle of this cycle, we might just see some prices kind of going sideways here. Maybe they come down a little bit, maybe they go up a little bit, whatever they're going to do in here. But it wouldn't surprise me to see just some sideways actions here for a few days. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm not really sure how it's going to play out, okay, but more or less sideways action. Not getting caught up in every little candlestick movement throughout the day, okay? Like when some people look at this candlestick over here. Some people look at this candlestick, and when they're trading during the day, they're all, they start making comments about, oh, look at the market's, it's a big bull market again, and that's because really short-term intraday traders, they get all worked up over a single candlestick, even 1 hour candlesticks and 5-minute candlesticks and all this stuff. But when you go back, if and I bet you there was traders that said that about that candlestick right there, on that day. But when you go back and look at this, it's just a bunch of chop sideways, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days of chop. And it wasn't until it finally said, okay, enough is enough, and it took off and went up here for the last 5 days. So my instincts tell me we got some little bit of choppy chop going on here for a little while as we're right in the middle of this this cycle. There's another cycle in here too that's it's almost perfectly I'm noticing that the top of the cycle is right at the low of these other cycles. Very interesting. You see it? See it right here? Let's see. 1, 2, hit. 1, 2, hit. Yeah. So these are the type of patterns you got to watch for and pay attention to, because life is extremely cyclical. Extremely. So you'll notice that this yellow cycle is right smack dab at its peak, is right in the middle of where these two big green cycles come and meet. Okay? And then you get 2 cycles where that doesn't happen. And then you get a cycle where it does. Then you get 2 cycles where it doesn't happen. Then you get a cycle where it does. Okay? So that's just something we need to pay attention to, because those are opposing forces. When I see something like this, that's opposing forces. You got one cycle driving down, but you got another cycle peaking at the same time. Okay, intuitively I know what that means. It may not play out that way, but look at this one right here. See how this cycle didn't really press down very much? You got a big cycle pushing down, but then you got this interlace cycle that's going up. And sure enough, the price just kind of, it didn't give up much. Now, that may not always be that way. Here's one where he ignored that altogether and just bombs away, right? Okay. So those are just things you got to pay attention to. So just looking at this, I think, I wouldn't be surprised to see, maybe to see today is, technically this is a Tuesday, right? That is November 1st, Tuesday. So I could see Wednesday being maybe even Thursday, maybe some chop going on in here. The MACD looks strong. So even though we have divergence warnings, the MACD is, I don't think it's played out. Now it could do this and start rolling over, but I just think this is going to come up a little bit higher. We're going to get up into here somewhere. Maybe You know, what's the MACD right now? The MACD is at 20, guys. This number on the daily chart. If we look back over here, when the MACD hit its peak, it was at 92. Okay, so I think there's more in this. I think the MACD will come up 60 to 70 area, and that tells me it's gonna. I think it'll at least get up into here. Okay, so if I had to give it my best guess, chop, 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 and then another leg up. That's what I think is going to happen. And this thing could play out where, and if it does, and if this is just an if, but if it does play out like this, and we get to the right side of this middle line, it chops and goes up. Oh, that's a strong sign. If you get this stuff over here to the right side of this middle line like that, okay, and it legs up like that, oh yeah, that's a strong sign. Okay, and that means as we hit this cycle low, it may come down, but I don't think it'll come down very hard, and that means this next cycle, which everybody wants to know what that is, starts November 20th, ends on basically 2 days after Christmas, okay? If it does this scenario, chop sideways, go up, and then just kind of comes down a little bit into this cycle low, which is, yep, November 20. Okay, I'll put that on here for those that want to know. 11:20 is right there, okay? Sorry about my European friends. I know this is messed up, but this is November 20th. Okay. So that's the low right there. And if this does this, chops sideways and goes up another leg, then I think this dip down here into this cycle low, I mean, with it that elevated in price, way up here around 4,000, maybe even above 4,000, that tells me, and we'll always take one cycle at a time and watch what it does, but that tells me this next cycle will likely be strong again. At least, you know, a halfway point, which would be December 8th. Okay. So that's the way I think this will play out. You know, there's obviously more than one scenario that can play out here, okay? But this is the one that stands out to me. Chop, chop, and up. Now, if it chops and really starts coming down, then we'll look at what I call natural resistance points, okay? The first one would be this one, which is 37.57, and then you come down to the next one, which is 36.41, okay? But I'm not going to go there yet. We're just going to wait to see what this does. My instincts tell me we're going to get to the right side of this middle line. It's probably going to go a leg up, and then we'll just pay attention to how far it comes down during this cycle low, which even if you get a couple big red candlesticks, I don't think that means much. It doesn't take away from the fact that the next cycle is going to be strong. Okay, so it's a combination of watching divergence signals, which these right now I think are just a prelude, okay, of something to come. Like I said, it could be more like these here, okay? But we can't ignore that. Those, especially when we begin to see divergence dots on the Big Daddy, yeah, that we got to pay attention to. Okay, when they show up like this on both of these, you really got to watch it. Okay. So those are all the things I'll be watching. I think what we're gonna get is another set of divergent warnings like these guys, okay, over here. And those are the ones we're gonna say, aha, now we really gotta pay attention, especially with the MACD elevated way up in here. So if the MACD gets up into this area above 60, 70, 80, 90 area, especially 70 and higher, and we're getting divergence dots, then we gotta really pay attention. Okay, but we don't have that yet. So that's what I think is going to happen. The other scenario is it chops, weakens, and begins to fail. On this right side of this line, begins to fail, go down, and just fails hard. If it does that and takes out like that candlestick low and that candlestick low, that's a big deal. Yeah, that it may not take out this 35.02, but it's a big deal because it tells me the next cycle won't be as strong. You follow me? Those are the type of, like, you have to read cycles and their strength, where they break. Okay? Where a cycle breaks is really important. How far it gets up or down in a cycle is really important, because that'll give you a lot of information about the next cycle, okay? And then you can trade accordingly. All right? So for now, I'm going to finish up this video. I might take a quick look at copper, so you can stick around for that. But for now, the best number one scenario that I think is going to happen, the most likely scenario is little chop sideways, then up. I don't know how high. That's number one. Number two is obviously just the opposite. It breaks right on the right side of this line, which is where we're at pretty much right now, today and tomorrow. Maybe Thursday the latest, Friday, somewhere in there. If it starts breaking down really hard and takes out that candlestick there, 37.57, that's a little bit of a sign. Okay, so if it takes out 37.57, right? That's not a big deal, but we got to pay attention to it. And then the big deal will definitely be if it takes out 36.41. Okay, if it takes out 36, sorry for my chicken scratch here, 36.41. Those are the two big numbers. If it breaks to the right side of this cycle and just starts coming down hard, then we'll pay attention to these numbers. Okay, if it does a leg up, that's bullish. Okay, those are the two most likely scenarios. Okay, leg up, which I would trade it. I would trade this leg up. But as you get to the right side, usually as you further you get to the right, you got to really have your risk management in place, because it will break on you and catch you out and break down into this cycle low, okay? But I would trade, for me, just me, my opinion, it's all opinion, right, guys? I don't give advice, strictly opinion here on this video. But my opinion, what I would do is, I've been saying this on the Discord server to my members, I've just been keeping it small. I've just been doing small positions. Once in a while, I'm taking some profits and just chugging away, because I'm not forgetting we're in a bear market, okay? So I'm just, I bought some corporate bonds recently and just had just rock bottom prices of some corporate bonds. So I gobbled a couple of those up and just, stuffed them away for a rainy day. But I still think that's a good way to play this. If it legs up, just take some small positions, take profits, fairly often, and that's it. And just keep playing that out. If you want to take some medium-sized profits and take on a little more risk, that's up to you. Okay. But for me, I don't lose sight of the big picture. That's the bear market. And we're definitely still in a bear market. And as we see when we get into probably third week of December, somewhere around there, that's you got to really start paying attention, okay? Yeah, I wouldn't want to be long during that time. Even if the market looks strong, I'd be really careful about being long third week of December, Christmas time. Anything going into the third week of December looks really shaky to me, okay? All right, so that's it for the stock market. That's what I think it's going to do. Let's take a quick look at copper. If I can remember, I haven't traded this in a while, but I think it's HG. Okay, I do have a copper channel on the Discord server. Boy, my goodness. Am I looking at the right thing? Man, it's copper futures. That's some... Wow. That is like ugly. Am I really looking at the same chart? These copper futures are garbage. I mean, this is nice way back here, but man, this ain't very good looking. This is just sideways nonsense going on here. Yeah, I'm not excited about where copper's at right now. Interesting. I think there's some mini micro coppers. Let me see what's going on with those. Yep, same thing. I'm not excited about copper. I'm not even sure I really want to review this. It just looks like it's dead. So let me look at the weekly real quick. Yeah. Wow, look. Okay. Do I have a chart for the weekly? I do. There it is. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Was that right on the button or what? Back in May? So copper to me, guys, looks... December 18th is the bottom. This looks dead. Oh my gosh. This is like this thing is just ran out of gas. Dead. My opinion, I would not long this. This is not something I would go long on. This is just a lot of nasty. It's going to have to prove it wants to go and get strong again, because it doesn't look like that at all. It looks like it looks weak. Down here just farting around the bottom. Doesn't look good. Back over to the daily real quick here. Switch back to the daily. Wow. Ugly. It's just almost... Really, to me, it's almost not tradable. I mean, here it was very tradable, yeah? See that? See that? That's tradable. You start seeing it breaking below the 50-day remember we're looking at daily chart here, starts really getting some action down into a cycle low. Oh yeah, that's tradable. This one comes up, touches the 50. It breaks to the left side of this line, so you know it's a left. It's not a really weak one, but it's slightly weak left-hand translation. It breaks across the middle point of this and just bombs. That's tradable. This was tradable. And look how it broke super late. Way over here. That's a very strong cycle. No, big picture, the copper's going down, but within this one cycle, that was a nice cycle to trade. This cycle, garbage. It's garbage. If it was me, I wouldn't touch copper. There are other products. Don't touch it. It just looks like garbage to me. It's dead. It's floating sideways out in the sea. All right, one look at crude oil. If I could type, that'd be good. Butterfingers here. Okay. Crude oil. What's happening here? I guess we can get rid of those, huh? That died a long time ago. Wow. Big divergence warning right smack dab right there just a day or two ago. Okay. Wow. Look at this divergence warning back here. It happened on October 10th, and you had about a week, and when I mean calendar week in this case, of trading that was down. Really nice. We're all the way down to this cycle low. Man, that's really sweet. That is super sweet right there. You get something like this on. It doesn't happen that often. Look at all this time. You don't have nothing. Okay, you got one there and you got one there. That is so tradable. You're going to trade that. That's absolute tradable. So now, why am I mentioning that? Because there's another one that just happened right here. Okay. And this is coming right into the middle of the cycle. So got to be a little bit careful here. Yeah, this ends November 15th. Right there. 11:15. That's November 15th right there. So you got to be careful whenever you see something in the middle of a cycle coming down, which right here is about, well, it's the next day or two. So it makes sense that it's coming down right into the middle of this cycle. So I'm a little bit unsure because it could just mean it comes down the middle of the cycle and then flattens out, comes up. I'm not really sure what's going to happen there. But for slightly aggressive traders, my opinion on crude oil is this. There's at least another day's worth of trading to the short side. Like a strong sense that you could trade today and tomorrow short. Okay, that's in the next 24 to 36 hours, something kind of like that. I feel you could trade crude oil short with a lot of confidence. After that, when it it might get a little bounce off of this mid part of the cycle. It may do something like that after it gets done coming down. But with this going on and this going on, and right about here, yeah, I think there's another day or two, in here of short side trading. Okay, after that, I have to reevaluate it because I haven't really been following crude oil. All right. Okay, y'all got extra. You got extra primo today. I gave you the stock market. I gave you a look at copper, which looks so ugly. I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole, but I think there's a short window of opportunity here for like high amount of confidence in crude for short side trade on the futures. Don't forget, if you are going to trade futures, for those that do that, or I know some of my friends do turbos. Okay, over there in Europe, you can also trade MCL. Okay, it's a really cheap product. See, how cheap is it? MCL. Yeah, it used to be cheap. Look at this ridiculous price now. I swear, man, these people are such thieves. Don't even get me going. That is ridiculously expensive. It used to be so cheap. It's not cheap anymore. But anyway, that's my take. Those are the three products. Okay? You want to become a member? Just below the video, you can click. First, you need to subscribe. So subscribe. You give me a thumbs up. I appreciate that. Okay, not that YouTube will give a damn about my channel because they've pretty much have blackballed me everywhere, but whatever. It is what it is. But if you want to become a member, subscribe to my YouTube channel first. Then there should be a join now or join something button below the video. You can join. I think it's $5.99. Okay? And then you get access to the Discord server. Just leave me a comment on one of the member-only videos, and I'll give you a link to get onto the Discord server, okay? And I share on the Discord server usually several times a week. Maybe not every day, but I'm on there probably 4 or 5 days a week, giving my opinion about things. Okay, and there are other people too. They give their opinions, and so we got a group of, I don't know how many members it is. I don't keep track of the members, guys. It's probably 50 members, maybe a little bit more. I'm not really sure how many members are on there, but it's something like that. All right, so if you want to join, you can join. Okay, and I think that's about it for now, guys. Hope you all had a great day. We'll talk to you all real soon again next time.